most interesting thing in impact. The Government of Canada announces the wholesalers for the highly anticipated Social Finance Fund. It is big news, but there are three critical challenges to work through as the fund gets going. Now, this fund is significant. It is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to fuel social purpose organizations and catalyze lasting impact. It's of huge significance and is the result of extraordinary effort over many, many years. But first, how will the fund work? Well, there isn't a full level of visibility into all the parts of the machinery. Much of it is still like a black box. But at a high level, here's the model. Even though it's meant to accelerate the growth of the social finance market, it's basically designed as a program, and it's part of the social innovation and social finance strategy. The fund was initially envisioned in 2017. It was announced in the 2018 Fall Economic Statement for about $755 million. The design and rollout has been slow, many wondering if capital will ever flow. The Government of Canada somehow selected a technical assistance group and somehow selected Deloitte to advise and inform the selection process for the wholesaler. There's no visibility into the terms of the technical assistance group, how decisions were made, what meetings they had, what discussions they had. All of that is basically pretty much a black box, which is the opposite of having a social equity lens, which the government often mentions, and I'll get into that in a minute. Then the Government of Canada issued an RFP for wholesalers in 2021. Their role is to invest capital, matched by other sectors, into social finance intermediaries, such as venture funds and credit unions, who then will invest into a range of social purpose organizations. The key thing, though, to note here is that the Social Finance Fund is largely a repayable fund. So the roughly $700-ish million that's issued by the government needs to be repaid by the wholesalers by about 2036, 2037. Now, who are the wholesalers? It's Realized Capital Partners, Boan, and Cap Finance. These are all respectable, reputable organizations and consortiums. But there's three key challenges for the Social Finance Fund as it gets going. Number one, longevity. Even though the narrative is that this will grow the market, the fund is designed as a program which is mostly all repayable funds to be repaid by 2037. And then what? No one knows. There's no clear indication on market building or ecosystem building in the lead up to or post 2037. Who has the onus to do that? Is that the wholesalers? Is that the intermediaries? That is unclear. How will the fund interact with mainstream actors or even quasi-mainstream actors like the Business Development Bank of Canada, which holds tens of billions of dollars in assets, but is largely currently locked out for the social purpose sector? So is there a plan to actually build the market for the long term? No one really knows, and that's a problem at launch. Number two, social equity lens. The Social Finance Fund model notes a lens of social equity and inclusion, the idea being that there's a social equity lens that is applied throughout the investment decision-making process and due diligence. And so the funds actually reach equity-deserving communities. Now, it's unclear to me how the social equity lens was generated in the first place. It's unclear how the lens was incorporated within the technical assistance group, how it was incorporated in the selection process of the intermediaries. The wholesalers may have expertise in investments, but do they have expertise in social justice? What is the accountability of the wholesalers on social equity? To add to all this, there's no clear, sense of what the government means when they say social equity. So this is a significant challenge right off the bat, which brings me to my last point that is important to consider as the fund launches, and that is opaqueness. Since 2017, the Social Finance Fund process has been a fairly opaque process, and there's been a lot of critique about that. At Future of Good, we wrote an entire special report on the fund's process back in 2020, and there's been little improvement on the transparency and accountability. Now, with the wholesalers announced, there is still no visibility into how they would select intermediaries, who would be involved in the decision-making, how they will be involved, how they intend to build the market, and so much more. Nor is there clarity on the accountability mechanisms for any of these things. The wholesalers, though, now with the launch, have an opportunity to course correct on the opacity and make a public announcement, commitment to transparency. Will that happen? Let's see. There is still time to convert Government of Canada's past lessons in program delivery and program design into a bold, once-in-a-generation opportunity for all, because this is an extraordinary effort. That's the most interesting thing in impact.